Hey everybody, I'm gonna do my makeup today and talk about my breastfeeding journey and kind of all of that because I've had a lot of people ask about it and I honestly had no idea what it entailed and I went into it very blind. So I will try to give you as much information as I can possibly give and as much knowledge as I have. But let's get into it. And I'm gonna do my makeup because I don't want to sit here and just do this the whole time. Also, Beauty Blender foundation. I had never tried it before. I love it. It's like not super heavy and covers really nice and I've just been loving it. So I'll try to tell you guys which makeup. This is like basically my makeup I've been doing for months now, so I will try to do it so you guys can have all that. But yeah, so I really had no like goals and I think that's the best way to do it. Again, do whatever you feel. And this is just me sharing my experience. I just have to say that, so don't get upset at me for what I did. If you want to do it differently, that's totally fine. But I did not have any like set expectations as far as breastfeeding went. I think if you don't, then you're not going to be like upset at yourself or anything. So I just didn't want to be like, okay, I have to breastfeed and I have to do this because what if I wasn't able to? What if he wouldn't latch? Like I didn't want to have any more frustrations than I was already going to be dealing with. So I just went into it very, whatever happens, happens. I will try. And if if we have issues, then we'll deal with that. If we don't, then that's great. So it's kind of what I went into the whole journey from birth, just, whatever needs to happen for him to be healthy, that's what I was going to do. So once I gave birth, I don't know why I thought immediately milk was just going to come shooting out. Everyone says your boobs get huge and just milk starts coming out. Did not happen for me. My whole body got really swollen, like my face and my hands and my feet and everything. I don't know if that was from the epidural or the hormones, but my face got very swollen, so that was fun. But I did not do any, so you can like pre-pump and try to get colostrum out. I didn't. I asked my doctor if I should, and he was like, honestly, it'll happen when you're in the hospital, so don't worry about it. So I didn't try to worry about it. It also might induce your labor. So I, again, wasn't trying to like force labor to happen any earlier than it was going to. So it's one of those things that you could try to pump leading up to giving birth. I just chose not to. So yeah, once he came out, I did like an hour of skin to skin and then I tried to breastfeed. I do, and this is going to be just like a TMI, but I feel like nobody talks about it. So I've kind of talked about it a little bit. I have an inverted nipple on one boob, and the other I do not. And so my inverted, I got pierced to try to like bring it out to hopefully, when this point in time came in my life, it would like stay out. It doesn't. So I took my piercing out on our baby moon. And I was so sad about it because it's one of those insecurities that I had my whole life of just like not feeling attractive on that side, but whatever. And so I told my doctor about it and he said, oh, like, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So Chase would latch kind of okay on like my normal boob. And on my other one, he would get really frustrated because whenever he would go to try to pull milk out, my nipple would go in instead of coming out to like meet his mouth. So we both got very frustrated. And so I tried multiple times and eventually a lactation consultant came in and gave me these nipple shields. I'll link them. Actually, let me grab one. So they look like this. This one has milk residue on it, but they look like this. And you basically like go like this and then put it over your nipple and then it like pulls your nipple into this and it's easier for the baby to latch onto. I don't know why more people don't use these because I think latching is very frustrating and for everybody and the baby doesn't really know what they're doing and they have to learn, you have to learn. It's a whole thing. These are really great. The only problem is that he won't latch without this because my nipples just are not like big and this is just a lot of TMI, but it's the reality. So yeah, nipple shields, I got them on Amazon. They're from Medela. If you just Google that, they'll pop up. But I used those and for both and he latched really great with that and it helped a lot with like my colostrum coming out. And everyone says like, oh, don't worry, your milk will come in. And I feel like my milk took almost 5 days to come in. And so he was getting really frustrated with being hungry. And again, I definitely went into this whole journey of like a fed baby is a happy baby to me. And so because we got him circumcised at the hospital, I I think it was so painful for them that he didn't want to pee, like he was afraid, and they wouldn't let us leave until he peed. And it had been almost 24 hours, a little bit over, and that's not good. So they were like, you know, we can always try giving him a little bit of formula just to like get some fluids going, because colostrum isn't like a lot of fluid. So we talked about it and decided, okay, let's do that. We'd been at the hospital for like 3 days. We were pretty ready to go home. That was the only thing we were really waiting on. So we did a little bit of formula and then he peed. So like, it was great. We went home, and I was always open to supplementing with formula if I wasn't able to breastfeed. Again, I didn't want to put a ton of pressure on me and stress if that wasn't going to happen, or if he didn't want to, or whatever. So, and this is Persona Cosmetics. I love this stick. And so we did a little bit of formula, and I had formula at home just in case. And I'll link the one that we use. It's the purple Enfamil, I think is what it's called. He seems to like that one. And so we continued to supplement formula because I wanted to sleep. I wasn't producing enough milk, and he was starving all the time. And so again, this is all personal preference, and like, don't judge people regardless of which route they take. I think whatever works for you and your baby, that's what you should do. And so yeah, once we got home, we would pretty much give him, so I think what the doctor told us is 10 milliliters per day old, and that goes up to a week, and then it kind of changes after that. So 10 milliliters per feed, you know, until he's a week old, then it would be like 70. So like day 2, he'd be up at 20 milliliters, day 3, 30 milliliters, etc. So we did that, and he seemed really happy. And then I was still working on, I would still try to breastfeed him every single time. And then I would give him a bottle afterwards, or Blake would, so I could rest, because breastfeeding, we have the Huckleberry app. Highly recommend getting that, making a profile for the baby, and then both of you just log into it. So it has a timer on there, and it reminds you which boob you ended on last. Another mistake I made was always starting him on my good boob, because that one he wouldn't get frustrated. And then this one ended up kind of being like barely produces much. So always switch off which one you start on. I did not know that, and it makes perfect sense now. What, Cleo? Cleo's mad. But a common sense thing that you just don't really think about. You just kind of do whatever's easiest and whatever makes the baby happy immediately. And that was kind of what we did, and big mistake. So I switch off now, obviously, but the Huckleberry app has like a timer for each, and it reminds you which one you ended on. So definitely get that. And then, yeah, about day 5, and some things that I have done to like help my milk production, which I don't know if it really helped, but I've just continued it since. And I got these on Amazon. Mother Love. I take 3 a day. You can take 4 to 6 throughout a day. I just take 3 because I hate taking pills. But I take these, and I did the milk tea, mother's milk is what it's called. I also did like hot compress on my like while I was pumping and stuff like that. And for pumps, I have the Medela Pumpin' Style, and I like that one. I feel like I ended up being tied to the wall all the time, and I didn't like that. And I found out later that I used the Mom Cozy M5. I'll link it. I use that one the most, because not only am I like hands free, but it has each one, you can do different levels of like suction. And so this one, let's call it my difficult one, my difficult boob, needs more suction than my other one. My other one has like a really good flow and all that. So I only use like level 7 and then level 9, which the one that attaches to the wall, you can't really do that. It's just all one, like one for both. I'm sorry, words are hard. One level of suction, and it just goes to both. So you can't like change depending on which one. Also, something that I knew, and if you have a lactation consultant, highly recommend using them, or use the ones at the hospital. But she helped me figure out what size they're called flanges or something like that. They're basically like the circumference of the pump around your nipple, and makes a huge difference. Oh my gosh, am I leaking already? Great. But it makes a difference as far as it just your milk, how much milk comes out and stuff, it just, the correct size makes all the difference. So even if you go to a lactation consultant once just to get that information, because again, I have like a size 19 millimeter here and a 17 here, and sometimes a 24, it's so different and just not, they're not all the same. So definitely use that if you have that resource. It makes a huge difference. In my milk supply, at least it did. Besides that, hi Cleo. Yeah, hot and cold compress and a nipple cream helps. My nipples got really chapped, and the nipple shields help because obviously the baby isn't like, he was biting my nipple a lot because he was really frustrated. So if you get the nipple shield, that helps a lot. But yeah, any sort of a nipple cream, definitely recommend. It helps and it makes a difference. So now pretty much I was breastfeeding him every time, and then I felt like he was hungrier still, and I really wanted to know how much I was producing because I started to notice that all of my pumping sessions were producing different amounts. And so the control freak that I am just wanted to really know how much he was eating, because it's really hard to tell when you're breastfeeding. So a couple of days ago I started just exclusively pumping, and then whatever was remaining we would do the rest in formula. And he seems a lot happier, and he just, I think, was really hungry all the time. And that's understandable because when I wake up, I, you know, can pump almost 4 ounces, and then the second pump after that is only like 2, and then it's 4, and it kind of just goes like that all day. So it's been nice to know that. And sometimes if he is not getting tired enough, I will breastfeed him still. So I still try to once a day just to still have that bond. And his saliva produces certain things in the breast milk and kind of talks to my boobs, and it's this whole thing. So I still try to do that just to keep that going. It's a full-time job, basically, breastfeeding. I get why some people get discouraged. I almost did at one point. I remember telling Blake, like, I don't think I can do this. It is literally every hour you have to either pump or take a pill or eat stuff or drink water. And it's a whole thing on top of, if I didn't have Blake here, I think I would have given up, because it's just a whole full-time job and very discouraging and frustrating. And yeah, people don't talk about it enough. It is a really, really hard thing to do and hard to stick with. So I really tried to, and I still am. And so now pretty much my pumping schedule, I do it an hour before he feeds, and I try to give him whatever is in there. So I don't have any reserve. Like a lot of people freeze. I don't have that. I don't have enough yet, hopefully. So he eats whatever I produce, and then whatever is remaining up to about 120 milliliters, we give the rest in formula. And he seems to be happy, so that's just what we're doing in the meantime. But besides that, I mean, I definitely see the appeal to fully breastfeeding because I know there's so many nutrients, and so it's so good for the baby. But I also think that a fed baby is the best baby, and that's just all that really matters. And I think that's okay. And not everybody can breastfeed, so it's pretty frustrating when there's so much pressure around it. I remember, you know, I opened up about Instagram on like how I was barely producing any, and, you know, tons of people were encouraging, but it also makes you feel like you can't give up, even though like maybe you feel like you should, and that's okay as well. Because at the end of the day, if you're frustrated and angry and not having a good time, it does translate to the baby, and you have to be really careful, like your energy and your patience and all that stuff. So you just have to really listen to your instincts, and that's what I've been pretty much doing. And, you know, if he decides one day doesn't want to anymore, then that's okay. If that's all he wants to do, that's okay. The one benefit to, or not the one benefit, but a big benefit to having pumping or bottles, and not all babies will take bottles, which I just learned. So again, if that's your situation, I don't have a lot of advice for that, because he loves bottles. He loves eating as much as possible. But if you, the good thing about doing bottles is that anybody else can feed him. So like I got longer stretches of sleep, which I just need, because you do need sleep to produce milk as well. And I did get a clogged duct, again, in my difficult side. And I don't know why, one day I was kind of just massaging, and I found it was a huge lump like this big. And because I wasn't ever nursing him on here because I was really frustrated with that side. And so I did warm compress, and I did a, you know, like the face rollers back in the day that we all used. I used that on it while I pumped and just did that every single session for I think 3 or 4 days. It took a really long time to get out, and it was bruising. It was really painful, and I was feeling really sick, and I was trying to avoid mastitis, and I think I did. But yeah, definitely make sure you do everything even, because if you don't, that will happen, and it was not a fun feeling. So when that happens, I remember I texted my friend and was like, what do I do? There's like a big lump in my boob. And she was like, oh, you have to like start doing all these things. Drink tons of water. Water is super, super important for breastfeeding and just all of the things. It's really hard to drink a lot of water. I get that because it's a full-time job as well. All of it is. I understand why people eventually don't, because no matter what you do, you should be eating something, drinking something, pumping something, feeding something. Like, it's pretty full-time, all of it. So definitely don't give up if you really want to have that be like what you do. But I also completely understand if you get frustrated, and you just have to do what's best for your mental health as well. I'm gonna do my mascara off camera because it's really hard to do while I talk. Okay, mascara's done. I think I'll end this video here. I hope this helps. I know it's really overwhelming. Also, pediatricians, you can sometimes ask them for a lactation consultant. It definitely helps. Also, I went to 3. There was 2 in the hospital and then 1 at my pediatrician. And I feel like maybe one of them was helpful. So don't give up just after one. One was not very helpful. One, basically, by the time I had figured out breastfeeding, I just had to see her because my pediatrician, or the pediatrician, recommended it, and she was like, oh, you're fine. So that was not really helpful. The middle lady, or the second lady, she was super helpful with the nipple shields and kind of like a lot more information, and was kind of in there helping me with everything. So definitely don't give up, and also try a few to see if they have different techniques. I think everybody does. But yeah, I hope this is helpful. I'll link as much of the stuff that I've been using down below, and it's all on my Amazon store under baby stuff. I try to just put everything in there for pregnancy, postpartum, and the baby. But I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and don't give up, but you're also not alone. Bye.